Okay, what?
You mentioned the first year that if someone moves town now,
Yeah.
year, he has to still check the house over here.
Unless if they're going to be doing bedikas chametz there.
So they can sell it.
Yeah.
And what if he leaves someone here from his house, adult child, stays?
Then he can make them a shliach to do it. Okay, let's go moving on with the Seder because it's getting late. Okay, so after Mincha, Erev, just one thing, Erev Pesach at Mincha, right before Yom Tov, after Mincha the custom is, and our custom is to say the Korban Pesach, as it's written, the Seder, actually the procedure of how they brought the Korban Pesach, and it says that you're supposed to think, and you have a lot of kavanin, it's considered as if you brought the Korban Pesach. Okay, now, the first night of Yom Tov, halachically, you're allowed to bring Yom Tov in early. It's not like Shavuos where you're not allowed to bring Yom Tov in early. You're allowed to bring Yom Tov in early, but you can't bring it in too early because you can't start the Seder before nightfall. Now, we learned already that the whole place should be set up, everything, the table should be set to start the Seder as soon as possible. The only thing we set up afterwards is the Kaida. Okay, did we go through the Kaida? No, I remember. No, we didn't. Okay, no, it was a Wednesday night class. Okay, so the way, first of all, like this, the Ka'ara, the Seder plate that we have today, most people do it, not everybody, but most people do the Seder plate, you know, right, left, center, right, left, center. That's based on the Arizal. The Ramah has a different Seder plate, and the Vilna Gaon had different, there's a lot of different customs. You're looking back at some of the Svardim and Hilchos Pesach, you see like 20 different Seder plates ordered. But the universal Seder plate that everybody uses today is the Arizal. Now, what?
What's the Sephardim?
Svardim definitely use the Arizal. No, really, that's, they do this, yeah. Now, most people have a Seder plate, and then they have another thing with the 3 matzahs. According to the Arizal, we put the Seder plate directly on top of the matzahs. I mean, obviously with the separation, but the way our Seder plate is set up, according to Kabbalah and Arizal, is we have a plate at the bottom, a silver plate at the bottom, okay? Then we put on top of this plate a tray, okay? Then we put 3 matzahs. The 3 matzahs of the Seder. So you put down a cloth or a napkin, a cloth, matzah, cloth, napkin, matzah, cloth or napkin.
Why that?
1 minute. Then on top of that you put a cover. You make sure it's waterproof because you don't want the matzahs to get wet. So you could put like a piece of aluminum foil, and then over that you could put a decorative matzah cover. And then, or you put a matzah cover and then put the aluminum foil on top of the matzah cover. And then you put the Seder object, the items of the Seder plate directly on top of the matzahs. So we use zraya for what Chabad costs. Halachically, people use a shank bone. Zraya, basically, our custom is to use the neck of a chicken. And I'll explain in a second. Roasted neck of a chicken. Now in Chabad we also take off, the previous Rebbe said we take off most of the meat that's on the neck of the chicken. It shouldn't have any similarities to the actual Korban Pesach. So we have the zraya, and if not, people use chicken wing. You can use the polka, the leg of the chicken, whatever it is, different parts of the chicken. Now the zraya is in remembrance of the Paschal Lamb. Why is it called zraya? Because the pasuk says Hashem took us out bizraya nutuya. Nutuya. That's what the book says. The Bible, you know, 5 books of Moses. So we put the zraya on the top right. Then we use a hard-boiled egg. That's on the top left. Why do we use a hard-boiled egg? Because in the time of Korban Pesach was as follows. Every Yom Tiv, when the Jews had an obligation to go up to the Beis Hamikdash, they had to bring what's called Korban Chagiga. They had to bring a Korban Chagiga that they ate from. They had to bring Korban Eilos, but they had to bring also Korban Chagiga. So on Pesach, when everybody went up to the Beis Hamikdash, they also brought the Korban Chagiga. Now this Korban Chagiga, by the way, was eaten the night of Pesach. The Korban Pesach, as they call the Paschal Lamb, was eaten as dessert of the meal. The Korban Pesach was not the main part of the meal. The main part of the meal was the Korban Chagiga, plus whatever else they ate. The Korban Pesach was the second Korban, which was additional only on Pesach, because Pesach had to bring a Korban Pesach. Normally, Yom Tov, they brought one Korban Chagiga, which was a Shlamim, which means the people ate from it, the Kohen ate from it. So we have a hard-boiled egg. Why do we use a hard-boiled egg? Because a hard-boiled egg is a sign of mourning. Like Nishtangedach, after a funeral, it's called Sudas Avro, they eat a hard-boiled egg. Why? Because a hard-boiled egg is round, a mourner has no mouth, and it's the symbol of life. So because we don't have a Bais Din, so we use, it's called the shank bone d'zreya, which we use the neck of a chicken which is roasted. The top left we use an egg. Then in the middle we have the mortar. Now in Chabad custom, what we use for mortar is romaine lettuce plus horseradish. Romaine lettuce plus horseradish. Then at the bottom right, you have what's called the charesis, which reminds us of the cement and the mortar that they had when they built the pyramids or whatever they built in Egypt. On the bottom left, we have the karpas, and all the way at the bottom, then we have the mortar. So according to Arizal, the cheshbon is like this. If you ever see Kabbalah pictures, it's right, left, center. So, Chesed, Gvura, Teferes, Netzach, Hei, Yesed. Okay? So according to this, the Seder, the plate at the bottom is Malchus, which we learned a lot about, is a plate, a receiving. On top of that, you put the three matzahs, which represent Chochma, Bina, and Das. Kohen Levi Yisrael, it's a machlekes in Kabbalah. Is it Kohen Levi Yisrael or Yisrael Levi Kohen? Levi is for sure the middle matzah. The question is, in Kabbalah, there's an argument. Is the top Kohen and the bottom Yisrael, or is the top Yisrael and the bottom Kohen? But either way, that represents the three levels of intellect. Okay? Then you have the 6 things on the Seder plate, which represents the 6 midas. So therefore we put them all together on one compartment, besides the fact, by the way, it takes up a lot less place at the table. But besides the real reason is because you have the 10 sfiras, the 3 matzahs is Chachma, Bina, and Das, and then you have Chesed, Gvur, Teferes, Netzach, and Yesed, and then you have Malchus, which is the plate at the bottom. Now, according to our custom, the Seder plate is set up when you come home from shul, right before you start the Seder. We don't do it before. That everything else is ready before, but what we do is we make sure that the ka'ara, as it's called, what?
You kind of glossed over you use the chicken instead of the shank bone. And I'm just curious why.
It's different customs. One reason why we use chicken, there shouldn't be any similarity to the Paschal lamb. There had to be a sheep, a lamb.
There shouldn't be any similarity?
Yeah. That's why we don't eat the zreya. We take off most of the meat from it. The first 2 nights of Pesach, you're not allowed to eat any roasted meat that doesn't have any liquid in it. All because it shouldn't be a similarity to the Korban Pesach, which was roasted.
So the egg represents the morning.
The Avelis, right, that we don't have a Bais Din. But on the Seder plate, it's to remind us of the Korban Chagiga. But why do we use an egg and not whatever? Okay. Now, charesis, according to a lot of different customs, Sfardim have their own customs, how they put a lot of stuff into charesis. In Chabad, we only put apples, pears, and nuts. That's it. Nuts. You can have walnuts, you can have almonds, you can have whatever you want. Nuts. So,
No raisin.
no, we don't put raisins, and we don't put cinnamon, and we don't put ginger, and we don't put all those stuff.
No wine.
No, wine we add later when we dip the mortar into the charesis. But on the Seder plate itself, there's no wine in the mortar. Okay, so the Seder plate is set up, and now you start getting ready for Kiddush. Now, Kiddush is one of the 4 cups of wine, which therefore, because when the Chachamim instituted the 4 cups of wine, they said they made it the same way as the biblical mitzvah of matzah. Now, matzah, the Torah says, Balayla hazeh. So matzah you're not allowed to eat before mamish nightfall. So in LA, pushing it, you can't begin a Seder until 8 o'clock. We mentioned that in the past. That's the earliest you can begin is 8 o'clock. So, because the 4 cups is similar to the matzah, so you're not allowed to begin the Seder until nightfall, which again, here in LA this year, it's approximately 8 o'clock, earliest. Now the Kiddush cup, again, everything, as everybody knows in Judaism, is different opinions. So when anybody ever asks you a question halacha and you say there are different opinions, you are safe. You are safe because there isn't a thing that there are different opinions about. How big is the cup supposed to be? So some people say 5.4 ounces, 4.2 ounces. According to our minig, the Kiddush cup has to hold 3 ounces. That's the minimum size of a Kiddush cup. We try not to get a very big Kiddush cup because it's preferable each one of the 4 cups to drink them entirely. Unless you like wine, you can have 10-ounce cup and drink 40 ounces of wine that night. That's fine.
One shot.
Well, we're going to come to that in a minute. So before you start Kiddush, everybody fills up their cup of wine. Now normally during the year, let's say you have a family, right? So the head of the household makes Kiddush. By Sephardim, only the head of the household makes Kiddush. By Ashkenazim, usually the kids always make Kiddush themselves. That's usually what they do. And there's a reason in halacha for that. They hold Reiv al Madras Melech versus each person doing the mitzvah by itself, which one has precedence over which. But, so we fill up the cup. Now normally during the year, the husband, let's say, makes Kiddush, and then he gives everybody to drink. Now you can't do that to Seder, because everybody, men and women, and children have to have their own cups of wine. Right? So you can't make Kiddush and everybody listen to you and just give a little bit of wine. They need to drink a full cup of wine or grape juice. So it can be done in a few ways. Either the head of the household makes Kiddush, and everybody listens and answers Amen and that's it. Or if the women want, they can technically make their own Kiddush. Right? They can make their own Kiddush. The only thing they have to keep in mind is if they're making their own Kiddush, they do not say Shechianu again because they already said it at candle lighting. In fact, we don't hold like this, but there are opinions in halacha, it's interesting, that when the husband, I'm using the word husband, okay, because the head of the household, is making Kiddush and the woman already lit candles, she does not say Amen on his brach of Shechianu. So a bunch of opinions in halacha like that. Why? Because the bracha she doesn't need. She already made Shechianu. So if she's saying Amen, it's like speaking something which is not necessary for her to be Yetza, so she's speaking for nothing. So there are many opinions in halacha that say that a woman should not answer Shabbat. We don't hold like that. Our poskim don't hold like that. And we do answer Amen and Shechianu, even though they're hearing it from the husband. Now, one second. Then, when they finish making Kiddush, everybody has to sit down and drink the cup of wine. Now, you must drink more than half of the cup, or preferable, it says, is to drink the entire cup, by each one of the 4 cups. Now, men have to drink the wine reclining. Women, the minig is today in halacha, they don't recline for a lot of different reasons, without getting into it now, but the women don't recline, the men recline, and you have to drink the wine reclining. And if not, it's shaila and halacha, if you have to drink it over, not drink it over, but ideally a person has to recline. Now, children sitting in the presence of the parents, it says in halacha recline, because we assume the parents give him permission. A student in front of his Rebbe doesn't recline unless if the Rebbe says they should recline. Now it's interesting, when the Rebbe used to eat upstairs by the Frierdiker Rebbe's house, when the Frierdiker Rebbe was alive, so in the presence of the Rebbe nobody reclined. The Rebbe had a Seder until 1971, that the Rebbe ate Yom Tiv upstairs in the previous Rebbe's house because the previous Rebbe's wife was still alive. Till 1971, she passed away. So then the Rebbe used to have the Seder upstairs, and there was always a minyan of Chassidim, of older Chassidim, at the Rebbe's Seder, at the Rebbe's table, and of course nobody reclined. The Rebbe reclined, but that was it. But when the previous Rebbe was alive, the Rebbe never reclined, because he was in the presence of his Rebbe. After the previous Rebbe passed away, and the Rebbe kept emphasizing, the Rebbe is still here, the Rebbe is still here, the Rebbe is still here, so they were wondering what is the Rebbe going to do in the first year, and the Rebbe reclined. So somebody said to him, what's this? The Rebbe said, a feeling can't change halacha. Halacha says the Rebbe does not have to recline. How you feel that he's here, it can't change halacha. Halacha, you have to do halacha.
Feeling can change halacha.
I said, cannot.
Oh, cannot.
Cannot.
Rabbi, can a woman be yes, a man if he can't?
Halachically, Kiddush, a woman could be matzi a man. It says there's a din halacha Shabbos. It says a woman could make Kiddush for a man because they're equal chiyuvim, equal responsibilities. But the Gemara says, Tovi me'era, it's a very sharp expression for a woman that makes Kiddush for the husband. It's not a very good thing to do. Unless sometimes the husband can't. No, physically, that's a whole different story. So
when the people they hear the Kiddush from you, should they say Amotzi for a Priagafen before drinking or no?
they don't have to. They can be Yitzah for the Bray Priagafen. If they want to not have to be Yitzah, make their own, they could. Either way. But it's interesting, Svardim, there's only one Seder plate for the whole family. Not everybody has the Seder plate.
How do they do it?
So one person does everything. No, everybody has his 4 cups of wine, they all eat the matzah, but one Seder plate that's it. That's the Svardim. Huh? Okay, but usually officially...
5-6 people hold
Yeah, but it's one Seder plate at the head of the household has, not everybody with their own Seder plate. Huh? It's cheaper, yeah. Ashkenazim, the custom is kids over bar mitzvah, even little kids for chinuch, they will have their own Seder plate. Again, what's the machlekes? It's dependent. It's a halachic issue. The Gemara says, Reiv Am Hadras Melech. When you do a lot of people doing mitzvah together, it glorifies the king. So Svardim, I'm talking Svardim poskim, that's why Svardim do this. Svardim hold that when one person has a Seder plate and everybody is part of that Seder plate, it's Reiv Am Hadras Melech. It's a lot of people participating in one mitzvah. If each one has separate, so then it's not a lot of people doing one thing. Ashkenazim, what's late? Ashkenazim, though, we feel that each one should have their own. Okay.